Hello everyone, I am Nithya Kruthi studying BSc second year Biotechnology in Government Degree College Kukatpally. So today I would like to teach you all about prepositions. So we all know that a sentence is a combination of different words, and it is only because of these words a sentence becomes more meaningful and understandable by others. So therefore we can call these words as parts of speech. And do you know how many parts of speech are there in English? Yes, there are 8 parts of speech. Now let's have a look at them. So the 8 parts of speech in English are noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction and interjection. And it is amazing, right, just classifying thousands of words into just 8 categories, and we call them as parts of speech. Now let's discuss about them in detail. So the first parts of speech is noun. So what is a noun? So nouns name a person, place, thing, idea or quality, and these nouns act as a subject or object in a sentence. Let's understand better with an example. So the first example here is Brazil is beautiful this time of year. Here Brazil is a place and the name of the place is mentioned, hence we can call it as proper noun, and usually proper noun begins with the capital letter. And in the next example, his love of music really shows. And what is a noun here? And it is love. So, and what type of noun it is? It is abstract noun. And we also know that abstract noun refers to feelings, ideas, emotions, qualities, etc. And now we'll move on to the next parts of speech, that is pronoun. So what's a pronoun? So pronouns takes the place of noun to simplify speech and writing. They can otherwise function the same way as nouns, helping as subject or object in sentence. And examples of pronoun are, she is the smartest kid in class. So what is the pronoun here? The pronoun is she. And what type of pronoun it is? And it is personal pronoun. And in the next sentence, George took the book from him. So can you identify the pronoun here? Yes, him is the pronoun here. And in the next example, so who is coming to the party tonight? And who is the pronoun and what type of pronoun it is? And it is interrogative pronoun. And now we'll move on to the next part of speech, that is verb. So what is a verb? So verbs express action or state of being, and in our day-to-day life we come across many verbs. For example, sing, dance, sit, walk, run, etc. Let's understand better with an example. So Mary walked to school. So how did Mary go to school? So she walked, and hence walked is an action verb here. And in the next sentence, Raju lives in Hyderabad. So what is Raju doing in Hyderabad? He is living, hence lives is a verb here. And in the next example, mother bought me this book, and hence bought is a verb here. And now we'll move on to the fourth part of speech, that is adverb. So adverbs modify or describe a verb, adjective or another adverb or word group. And what does modification mean here? So modification means addition or changing the meaning of the verb, adjective or another adverb. And this modification can provide information relating to time, place, manner, cause, degree, circumstance. So now we'll move on with the next example, that is the alarm rang loudly. In this sentence we can identify that the alarm rang. So how did it rang? It rang loudly, and here loudly describes the manner in which the alarm rang, hence loudly is modifying. So hence loudly is an adverb. In the next example, Sarah ran very quickly to school. So how did Sarah ran? She ran very quickly, hence very is modifying the adjective, that is quickly. And the next example is, that's quite expensive, don't you think? Here expensive is an adjective, and this quite is adverb as it is modifying and intensifying the adjective expensive. So adverbs modify or describe a verb, adjective or any other adverb, and this modification can provide information relating to place, time, manner, cause, degree, circumstance. And now we'll move on with the next part of speech, that is adjectives. So do you know what is an adjective? So adjectives modify or describe a noun, and this examples of adjectives can be beautiful, good, bad, ugly and ordinary, extraordinary, etc. So these words ascribe an attribute to the noun being modified. So the example given here is the sleepy bear hibernated all the winter. Here bear is a noun and sleepy is an adjective. And in the next sentence, Vijay is a good boy. So for instance, consider Vijay is a boy. We are not able to get any other information. So hence if we use good, we get to know the qualities of Vijay. Hence good is an adjective here. So adjectives modify or describe a noun, and the examples of adjectives can be beautiful, good, bad, ugly, extraordinary, ordinary, etc. And now we'll move on with the next part of speech, that is prepositions. We all know that a preposition shows a relationship between two other words in a sentence, and this relationship can be between a noun or pronoun and a verb or two nouns or pronouns. And the examples of preposition are between, me, at, on, across, in, below, etc. So in the first example, between you and me, I wouldn't trust Andy. So here we have two, that is you and me, and we usually use between when we are mentioning about two places or two objects or two persons. Hence between is a preposition here. And in the next example, the coffee shop is across the street. So here across is a preposition as it is showing the relationship between the coffee shop and the street. And in the next example we have, put the carrots in the refrigerator please. So here in is a preposition. So prepositions show a relationship between two other words in a sentence, and you can find prepositions as nouns and verbs. And in the next part of speech we have conjunctions. So what is a conjunction? So conjunctions are used to connect words, phrases and clauses together. So they coordinate the words together so they make sense as a cohesive thought or phrase or paragraph. So the examples of conjunction are, we study and we play. See, in this sentence we can find two sentences, that is we study and we play, and is connecting these two sentences, and we usually use and when we are connecting similar parts, and hence and is a conjunction here. In the next example, they study so they do well in exams. I repeat, they study so they do well in exams. Here so is a conjunction because it is connecting the two phrases, they study and they do well in exams, and we use the conjunction so when we are representing a consequence. It is only they are doing well in the exams because they are studying properly. And in the next example we have is, they play but they do not enjoy it. Here but is a conjunction and we use conjunction but when we are talking about a contrast. So conjunctions are the words that connect the words, phrases and clauses and together. So now we will move on with the next parts of speech, that is interjections. So interjections are words used as exclamations to show sudden feelings, and they are usually abrupt, interrupting the speeches in between to show sudden or emotion feelings. So the first example here is, wow, that's a nice dress. Here wow is an interjection because it is a feeling or emotion expressed when we see a beautiful dress. Oops, I spilled the coffee everywhere. And here oops is an interjection. And in the last one, hooray, our team won the match. Here hooray is expressing the emotion or the feeling, hence hooray is an interjection. So now we have discussed about the parts of speech, and now we will move on with the next one and discuss more about prepositions. So do you know what is a preposition? So before I begin, I would like to ask you all a question, and here I go. Do you know what roads or train tracks or bridges do? They connect the places. Yes, so that's what prepositions do in a sentence. They connect the words in a sentence, and these connected words can be a noun or pronoun. Now let's see an example. So here the cat is under the table. So here we can find the cat under table, and here under is used to link the table and the cat. For instance, consider the cat is the table. We are not able to get what is the relationship between the cat and the table. Hence, if we use under, that is a preposition, we can confirm that the cat is under the table. So we can define prepositions as, prepositions show a relationship between two other words in a sentence, and this relationship can be between a noun or pronoun and a verb or two pronouns or two nouns, and hence under is a preposition here. And the examples of preposition are under, between, at, on, in, below, beside, after, before, etc. So there are two rules in prepositions to be remembered because they are somewhat vague, and learning about prepositions and using them correctly in sentences takes some practice. So let's see the rule 1. So the rule 1 says that to make sentences clear, specific prepositions are needed. For example, preposition in means one thing and preposition on means one thing, and both cannot be substituted for in all cases. So some prepositions are interchangeable but not always. So in this example, I want to see you in the house now, Bill. Here in is a preposition, and in the house means, so Bill needs to go through the door, enter the door and then stand in the living room. And in the next one, I want to see you on the house now, Bill. So here on the house means Bill would get a ladder and then climb and then stand on the top of the house. And we'll move on to the next rule, that is rule 2. So the second rule for using prepositions is that prepositions are generally followed by nouns or pronouns. See, let's see an example. I'm seeking someone I can depend on. In this sentence, on is a preposition and the sentence is ending with a preposition. And to avoid sentences ending with preposition, we can say that someone I can depend on is whom I am seeking. So these are the two rules. And now we'll talk about the types of prepositions. So could you identify what type of prepositions are this? So in this picture we have on, in, beside, with, between, below and across. Can you classify them? Yeah, let's do that now. So there are three types of prepositions now. So the first type is simple prepositions, and the second one is compound prepositions, and the third one is prepositions, phrase prepositions. So now let's discuss about them in detail. So the first type of prepositions is the simple prepositions. In simple prepositions, we usually have one syllable, and the examples for simple prepositions can be at, by, out, of, through, till, up, to, with are known as simple prepositions. And let's see a sentence. So I am from Hyderabad, and here from is a preposition and yes, simple preposition. And in the next example, I am working hard at geography. So here at is one syllable word and hence it is a simple preposition. So as discussed, simple prepositions usually have one syllable. And we'll move on to the next type of prepositions, that is a compound prepositions. So what is a compound preposition? So prepositions with two or more syllables come under compound prepositions. So usually compound prepositions contain a prefix, noun or adjective or adverb. And the examples for compound prepositions can be around, along, across, about, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, outside, within and without. And we can find that all the words given here are equal to two or then more than syllables. And the next type of preposition is the phrase preposition. So do you know what is a phrase preposition? So a phrase preposition includes a preposition, an object and the object's modifier. So it consists of three parts, that is a preposition, an object and the object's modifier. In the example given here, according to, in accordance with, in spite of, on behalf of and instead of. So let's take an example. According to Ramayana, Ravan was killed by Rama. Here we are using phrase prepositions, that is according to. So these all are the three prepositions, that is simple preposition, compound preposition and phrase preposition. And now we'll move on to the other types of prepositions. Let's have a look at them. So the other prepositions are prepositions of time, prepositions of place, prepositions of position. So we have three types of prepositions here again. And now let's discuss about them. So what is a preposition of time? So they're used to indicate when something happened or happens or will happen. And the basic examples of time prepositions include at, on, in, before and after. Let's understand them better with many examples. So the prepositions of time examples. In the first sentence we have I was born on July 4th, 1982. Here on is a preposition of time. And do you know when do we use on, in, at, before? And yes, we'll learn in the next slides. So we use on when we are mentioning the days and dates. And in the next one, I was born in 1982. And here we can identify that 1982 is a year. And we usually use in when we are mentioning years. And in the next example, I was born at exactly 2 p.m. So here at is a preposition. And we use at when we are mentioning the time frame. And in the next one, I was born 2 minutes before my twin brother. And yes, before is a preposition of time example. And in the last one, I was born after the Great War ended. And after is a preposition of time here again. So we'll see usage of in. So we use in when we are talking about years, months, seasons and time frame. So let's see the first example. I first met John in 1987. Here we can observe that 1987 is a year and hence we can use in. In the next example, it's always cold in January. Here January is a month. As I told, we can use January when we are talking about months. So in can be used here and the sentence is it's always cold in January. And in the third example, Easter falls in spring each year. Here spring is a season and hence we can use in. In the last one, we call breakfast in the morning. We eat breakfast in the morning. So we use in when we are mentioning the time frame, that is morning. So we use usage of in is years, months and seasons and time frame. And now we'll move on to the next one, usage of in. Do you know when do we use on? So we use on when you are mentioning about days, dates and some special occasions. So the first example is we go to school on Mondays but not on Sunday. So here we can identify that both Monday and Sunday are days. So we can use on preposition here. And in the next one, Christmas is on December 25th. So what is 25th here? It's a date. So we can use on here. Then it is Christmas on December 25th. In the next one, buy me a present on my birthday. And birthday is a special occasion and hence we can use on here. Buy me a present on my birthday. So as I told, we can use preposition on when we are talking about days, dates and some special occasions. And now we'll move on to the next one, that is usage of at. Do you know when do we use at? So we use at when we are mentioning the time frame and some indications of exceptions and some occasions. So I work faster at night and night is a time frame. And in the next one, her shift finished at 7 p.m. And yes, 7 p.m. is a time frame again. And in the next one, she got married at age of 17 and at is a preposition of time here again. And now we'll move on to the next one, that is usage of before and after. So basically before and after are very much easier to understand because any other preposition of time. And the sentence given here is, before I discovered this park, I used to go straight home after work. Here both before and after are prepositions of time. And in the second sentence, we will not leave before 3 p.m. And yes, before is a preposition of time again. And Ravi comes before John in the line but after Ganesh. And the other prepositions of time are during, about, around, until and throughout. So let's see the examples. The concert will be staged throughout the month of May. And the next one, I learned how to ski during the holidays. And the next one, he usually arrives around 3 p.m. And the fourth one, it was about 6 in the morning when we made it to bed. And the last one, the store is open until midnight. So these all are the prepositions of time. So let's solve an exercise here. So fill in the blanks using in, on, across. So the first question is dash the home, house. So we are supposed to fill using in, on, across. Can you guess the answer? Yes, the correct answer is in the house. And the next one is dash the USA, and USA is a country. So what's the correct answer? So the correct answer is in again. So you will find details dash the page 7. So we are supposed to fill this blank using in, on, across. So the correct option is on, because we use on when we have a surface. And the next one is fourth, and even from the houses the road could see him. So the correct option would be across. And in the next one, dash the table. Can you guess the answer? And the correct answer is on the table, because table has a surface. And she lives dash the street, and yes, the correct answer is she lives across the street. And there is a label dash the bottle. So where is the label? So there is a label on the bottle. And the last one is dash the London. As I told, London is a place again, so we can use in London. So this is all about preposition of time. And now we'll move on to the next type, that is prepositions of place. So what is a preposition of place? So these prepositions are used to illustrate the location of nouns or pronouns in a sentence. And the examples of preposition of place could be between, behind, on, in, near, under, over, etc. So now let's understand them better with some examples. So the cat is on the tree. Can you identify where is the cat without the preposition on? It's difficult, right? Hence they make it simpler by giving us the location of the noun or pronoun, and hence on is the preposition of place here. And in the next one, John lives near his workplace. So where does John live? He lives nearby to his workplace, and hence it is giving us the location where does the John live. So near is a preposition of place example. And in the next one, he is in his room, and yes, in is a preposition of place here again. So can you identify the prepositions here? In the first one, he is swimming in the river. So what is the correct answer? So the preposition here is in. And the next one, the plant is on the table. Where is the plant? The plant is on the table. On is giving us the direction and the location of the plant. So on is a preposition here. There is nothing on TV, and yes, on is a preposition here. And in the fourth one, the woman is looking at her laptop. Where is the woman looking? She is looking at her laptop, and the at is the location here, and hence at is a preposition. Choose the correct prepositions. So there are two sentences given here, and we have to choose the correct preposition from the given options. So now let's solve the first one. The man is sitting dash the table, and the two options given here are in front of and before. Can you guess the correct one? So the correct option would be in front of. The man is sitting in front of the table. And in the next one, the mother sat dash her children, and the two options are beside and besides. Both are confusing prepositions, right? Beside and besides. So what could be the correct answer? And the correct answer is beside, because we use beside when we are talking about side by side, and the mother sat beside her children. So this is all about prepositions of place. And now we'll move on to the next one, that is prepositions of moment. So what is a preposition of moment? So these are used to describe the movement, and examples of preposition of movement are to, into, towards, through, etc. So now let's understand them with some examples. I went to the bookstore. So here to is a preposition of movement, because to is giving the movement here. And in the next one, the swimmer jumped into the pool, and into is a preposition of movement here. So into means going inside. So here we have some graphic, and he always walks to school from his house. Here to and from are prepositions of movement as they are indicating the direction. And in the next one, after a few minutes, he ran out of the house with an umbrella under his arm. Here into and out of are prepositions of movement as they are giving the movement or the direction of the things. And the next one is the pilgrims sailed towards the new world. Here towards is a preposition of movement, and it is giving us the direction, and hence towards is a preposition of movement. Now let's solve an exercise. So correct the common errors in the use of prepositions. So we have to find out the errors in the given question. So he picked up a fight with me, and we have to find out the error in this sentence. So the correct answer is, he picked a fight with me. There is no necessary of up here. And in the next one, I ordered for a coffee. Can you guess the answer? I ordered for a coffee. Here the correct answer is, I ordered a coffee and for is not necessary. And in the next one, he replied me in the negative. So how did he reply? He replied to me in the negative, and to is a preposition of movement, and yes, this is the correct answer. He replied to me in the negative. Now we'll move on to the next one. That is, he is unable to move from bed. So we have to find out the error in this sentence. So what's the correct answer? So the correct answer is, he is unable to move in bed, not from bed. So the next one is, they were talking something. What are they talking? So they are talking about something. So the correct answer is, they are talking about something, and about is introduced here. And the next one is, the paper is inferior than that. Do we use than? And yes, the correct answer is, the paper is inferior to that. We use to when we are comparing two things. So this is all about preposition of moment. So let us look at some commonly confused pairs of prepositions which we come across in our day-to-day life. So beside and besides. Do you know when do we use beside? So actually beside refers to a location. My village is just beside the river. So where is your village? Beside. So it is referring to a location, and hence my village is just beside the river. And in the next one, besides means apart from. See, there is a difference, beside and besides. And the example here it is, besides being a good teacher, he is also a good human being, apart from that. And hence we use beside and besides in these scenarios. So we have to remember that beside is used when you are referring to a location, and we use besides which means apart from. And now we will move on to the next commonly confusing prepositions, that is between and among. So in the first sentence, between Chinese and continental dishes, I prefer the former. So here both Chinese and continental are two dishes, and as I told, we use between when we are talking about only two things. In the next one, Lata Mangeshkar is my favorite singer among all the Indian singers, and we use among when we are talking more than two things or two places. And the next one is in and into. So in refers to a state of being inside. Example, he is not in the room. Here in is a preposition, and it refers to the state of being inside. In the next one, into. Into refers to a movement towards the inside, and the example for this instance is, I fell into the river. And the next one is on and upon. So do you know when do we use on and upon, because they are very confusing. So we usually use on when it is referring to things kept on a surface. For example, the kettle is on the table, the bottle is on the desk, and there is a plant on the floor. So we use on when we are referring to a surface, and upon is used when we are talking about upward directionality. He jumped upon his horse and rode off. So we use on and upon in these scenarios. And the next commonly confused prepositions are in and within. So basically in refers to certain period of time. Here the example is, I'll call you in the morning. Here in is a preposition, and it is specifying one period of time, and that is morning. And in the next one, within refers to a time before the end of a certain period. So please give me a call within an hour, and here we are having a deadline, that is hour, hence we can use within here. And the next commonly confused preposition pairs are since and for. So since refers to a point of time in the past. For example, Manisha knows Reena since her childhood, and childhood is a past, and hence we can use since here. So Manisha knows Reena since childhood. And the next one, for stands for the duration of time. For example, the visitor has been waiting here for the last 30 minutes, and hence we can use for because there is a duration of time and that is 30 minutes. So this is about some commonly confused prepositions. And now let's solve an exercise. So we have to fill the blanks with appropriate prepositions. So the first one is, what is she working dash? So we are supposed to fill the appropriate prepositions in the blanks given. So the first question is, what is she working? So the correct option would be, what is she working on? And the next one is, this is the kind of music I like to listen dash. So the correct option is, this is the kind of music I like to listen to. And in the next one, she is looking for you dash the morning. She is looking for you since morning. As I told, we can use since we are mentioning time. And the fourth one is, who are you pointing dash? So who are you pointing at is the correct answer. So the fifth one is, this is something you should be ashamed dash. So the correct answer is ashamed of. So this is something you should be ashamed of. And in the sixth one, I fell dash the river. And the correct answer is into. I fell into the river. And the next one, here is the bus that you have been waiting dash. And the correct answer is for. Here is the bus that you have been waiting for. And the last one, that is, it is a place that Vani was telling me dash. So can you guess the answer? And yes, it is about. It is the place that Vani was telling me about. So now we will discuss about prepositional phrases. So do you know what is a prepositional phrase? So a prepositional phrase is a group of words that actually lacks either a verb or a subject and that functions as a unified part of speech. So now let's understand them with an example. So the given example here is, in spite of the heat, we all worked during summer. So here we can identify that in is a preposition and spite of is a phrase. So together we can call them as a prepositional phrase. And in the next one, in case of a fire, exit from the rear window. So the preposition is in and in case is a prepositional phrase. And in the next one, the rabbits hop through the garden. So can you guess the preposition here? Yes, the preposition is through. So the rabbits hop through the garden. So the next example is, all the rooms below deck are for sleeping. Here below is a preposition and it is a preposition of place. And along with below deck, it becomes a prepositional phrase. And in the next example, on the whole, it was a pretty good film. Here on is a preposition and along with on the whole, it becomes a prepositional phrase. And in the next sentence, can I help you in any way? Here in is a preposition and along with any way, it becomes a prepositional phrase. Can I help you in any way? And in the next one, he opened the attachment out of curiosity. Here we can see that out is a preposition and out of is a prepositional phrase. So this is all about prepositional phrase, and a prepositional phrase is a group of words that lacks either a verb or a subject and that functions as a unified parts of speech. So now let's have a recap. So what are the 8 parts of speech? They are noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction and interjection. So we know what is a noun. So nouns name a person, place, thing, idea or quality. And we have 4 types of nouns, that is a common noun, proper noun, abstract noun and collective noun. So what is a pronoun? So pronouns takes the place of nouns to simplify speech and writing. And the examples of pronoun are she, him, who, etc. And the next part of speech is a verb, and I told you that verbs express action or state of being, and the examples of verb are walk, sing, dance, sit, run, etc. And what is an adverb? So adverbs modify or describe a verb, adjective, another adverb or word group, and this modification can provide information relating to time, cause, degree, manner, circumstance. And the examples for adverb are, the alarm rang loudly. In this scenario, loudly is the adverb, And the next one, Sarah ran very quickly to school, and very is the adverb as it is modifying the adjective quickly. And the next type of parts of speech are adjectives. As I told you, adjectives modify or describe a noun, and these words ascribe an attribute to the noun being modified. And the examples of adjective are beautiful, extraordinary, ordinary, good, bad, ugly, etc. And the next part of speech is prepositions, which we have discussed very in detail. And so prepositions show a relationship between two other words in a sentence, and this relationship can be between a noun and pronoun on two verbs or nouns. And the examples of preposition are between, across, in, on, at, etc. And what is a conjunction? So conjunctions are used to connect words, phrases and clauses together, and the examples of conjunction are and, so, they, but. So do you know when do we use and? As I told, and we use and when we are connecting two similar parts, and we use so when we are representing a consequence, and we use but when we are talking about a contrast. And the last part of speech is the interjections. So we usually know that interjections are used to explain exclamations or to show sudden feelings. Examples of interjections can be wow, oops, hooray, etc. So these all are about the 8 parts of speech, and we have discussed about prepositions and the 3 types of prepositions. Those are simple prepositions, compound prepositions and phrase prepositions. And what is a simple preposition? So simple prepositions usually have a single syllable, and the examples of simple preposition can be at, by, out, of, through, till, up, to, etc. And in this sentence, I am from Hyderabad, and from is a simple preposition. And so what is a compound preposition? As discussed, compound prepositions usually have 2 or more syllables. So they contain a prefix, noun or adjective or adverb. And some examples for compound prepositions are beside, between, beyond, along, across, etc. So now what is the third preposition? So that is phrase preposition. So what is a phrase preposition? So phrase preposition includes an object and the object's modifier. And examples of phrase preposition are instead of, accordance with, according to, in spite of, etc. So what are the other prepositions? As discussed, we have 3 types of other prepositions. Those are preposition of time, preposition of place and preposition of position. As I told, we come across very frequently this one. So in the prepositions of time, these are used to indicate when something happened or happens or will happen. And what are the examples of preposition of time? So some basic examples which we come across in our daily life are before, after, at, on, in, etc. So I was sitting beside Raju. So preposition of time examples as discussed on, in, at, before, after. And we have also discussed about usages of in, on, at and before and after. And do you remember when do we use in? So we use in when we are talking about years, months, seasons and some special occasions. So we use on when we are talking about days, dates and some special occasions. So we use at when we are mentioning the time frame and some special exceptions. And we use before and after when we are mentioning them. So the other prepositions of time are during, about, around, until and throughout. So this is all about the preposition of time, and yes, we have solved this exercise. And now we will move on to the next type of preposition, that is preposition of place. So what is a preposition of place? So these prepositions are used to illustrate the locations of nouns or pronouns. For example, between, behind, under, over, near. These all are locations. And in the examples, the cat is on the tree. Here on is a preposition of place as it is mentioning the location. Where is the cat? It is on the tree. And the next one, John lives near his workplace, and near is a preposition of place here because it is showing us where does the John live and he is living near his workplace. And the next one, he is in his room, and in is a preposition of place here. So the next type of prepositions are the preposition of movement. So do you remember when do we use the preposition of movement? So we use preposition of movement when we are describing the movement. For examples of preposition of movement include towards, into, to, through, etc. So I went to the bookstore. Here to is a preposition of movement and it is showing the movement or the direction. And in the next one, the swimmer jumped into the pool, and here into is the movement. As discussed, here to, from, ran, out of, all of preposition of movements. And the pilgrim sailed towards the new world, and towards is a preposition of movement as it is mentioning the direction or movement. So we have solved the errors exercise, and do you remember the commonly confused pairs of preposition? Yes, they are beside and besides, and we usually use beside when we refer to a location, and we use besides which means apart from. And we use between when we are talking about two places or objects, and we use among when we are talking about more than two places or persons. And we use in and into, and into refers to a movement towards the inside. I fell into the river. And the next one, on and upon. So we use on and upon, and we usually use upon which refers to the upward directionality. And the other commonly confused prepositions are in and within. As I told, in refers to a certain period of time and within refers to a time before the end of a certain period. And we use since, and since refers to a point of the time in the past, and for stands for the duration of time. So these all are the common types of prepositions. So the next type of prepositions are prepositional phrases. And do you remember the definition of prepositional phrases? So a prepositional phrase is a group of words that lacks either a verb or a subject and that functions as a unified part of speech. And let us see some examples again. So in spite of the heat, we all worked during the summer. Do you remember which one is a preposition in the given sentence? So here in is a preposition and in spite of is a prepositional phrase. And in the next example, in case of a fire, exit from the rear window. As I told, in is a preposition here and in case is a prepositional phrase. And the next example, the rabbits hopped through the garden. Here through is a preposition and through the garden is a prepositional phrase. And the next example, all rooms below deck are for sleep. As I told, below is a preposition here and below deck is a prepositional phrase. And the next one we can say on the whole, in any way, out of curiosity. In these all sentences, on is a preposition and in is a preposition and out is a preposition. And this is all about prepositional phrases. So a prepositional phrase is a group of words that lacks either a verb or a subject and that functions as a unified part of speech. And what is a preposition? So prepositions show a relationship between two other words in a sentence, and this relationship can be between a noun or pronoun and a verb or two nouns or pronouns. And there are three types of preposition in English. Those are simple prepositions, compound prepositions and phrase prepositions. And what are the other types of prepositions? They are prepositions of time, prepositions of place and prepositions of moment. So this is all about prepositions. I hope you all enjoyed the lesson. Thank you.